Do I know what?
Did you know that the gas is in there and there's special things to make it that goes down in?
Yep. Hope, what are we doing today?
We're going to do the bees.
We're gonna go do the bees. Is today take your kid to work day?
Yeah.
And what does your daddy do?
Take care of bees and work on his computer.
Take care of bees and work on my computer. And what are we gonna do today working on the bees? Are we gonna go out there and learn a little bit about the bees today?
Yeah. These are some facts about them.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I can't really see them because the sun is too bright. But we'll talk about them here in a little bit, okay?
Yeah. Hi everybody. It's Take Your Kid to Work Day. My dad is a beekeeper. We're going to learn about bees today. Some of my bees are at my grandma's farm. And we're going to go down in the field and have a look.
Don't get behind it, sweetie.
Hi! Ooh, they look like twins. They look like twins.
Grandma's farm.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody got some gas going on there. Eating some beans last night.
I can pet the cow.
Yeah, that's Grandma's pet cow. Her name is Babe. Her mom was also my grandmother's pet.
Yeah.
Alright, so you can probably see down here one cluster of beehives that I got going on. Down here. And this is where we're gonna work with the bees.
These are my dad's beehives behind me. How does the queen bee lay the eggs?
Well, a queen bee, whenever she's born, she'll go out and she'll fly around and she'll look for different male bees to mate with. And after she mates, she'll go back to her hive and she'll live 3 to 5 years and produce almost 1 million baby bees during her lifespan.
What
So
do
she
they
laid-
make?
Say what?
What do they make?
The bees? What do the bees make? Well, the bees make wax, they make honey, they eat the pollen and the nectar from different flowering plants.
How do you spell bee?
How do you spell bee? B-E-E.
Do they like trees?
Do bees like trees? Actually, they do. Whenever there's not a lot of flowering plants with pollen or nectar, bees will go eat any type of sappy type sugary tree that they can find. For example, like maple trees. They'll definitely eat on the sugar that the maple tree is oozing.
What kind of flowers do they like?
What kind of flowers do bees like? They pretty much like any flower that doesn't have pesticides on them. And what they do with the flowers is they'll go down and they'll collect the pollen off the flower, and they'll eat that pollen, and that pollen is kind of like their steak. It's the bee's protein. And they'll also collect from the flowers nectar, and they'll take that back to their hives, and they will eat some of the nectar, and the nectar is kind of like their carbohydrates for their system. But they'll store that nectar in their hive, and as it dries out, it'll become honey, and they'll cap the honey up to store it so they have enough food through the winter.
What happens when they sting you?
Oh, when a bee stings you? It kind of hurts. Somebody got their very first bee sting. Since this is your first time being stung by a bee, what did it feel like?
It feels like a hot needle.
Like a hot needle?
What do bees do for you?
What do bees do for us? Well, they do a lot. Bees actually pollinate almost 30% of food crops around the world. In fact, almost all of your fruits and vegetables that you eat were plants that were pollinated by bees. Bees also serve a really important part of nature because they pollinate almost 90% of the world's wildflowers. So if we don't have bees, then we're not going to be able to produce food. So we definitely need to make sure that we're taking care of our bees.
Well, what else do they do for us?
What else do they do for us? Well, they make honey. Everybody likes honey. Do you like honey?
Yeah!
Yeah? Yeah, they make honey. People also harvest the pollen the bees collect. People will eat or take the pollen to help with allergies and things in their areas. A lot of people like to buy local honey that is made in the area that they're from, so they get the pollens of the plants that are in that area to help build up their immune system. And honey, I don't know if you knew this, is antibacterial and antimicrobial, so it has healing properties in it. It can heal cuts and sores, very much like the medicine when you get antibiotic ointment put on a cut.
Well, what does the queen bee do except lay eggs?
That's all she does. The queen bee's whole life is just laying eggs.
How does she lay eggs?
How does she lay eggs? Well, as I mentioned earlier, she'll mate with different male bees, and she'll just lay eggs inside of little cylinder cones that the hive has built, and she'll lay the egg in there, and the egg will grow, and then the worker bees will feed the baby bees, and the larva, it will grow into a larva, and then when it gets to a certain age, they'll cap it so the baby bee will grow and develop into a worker bee.
Time for lunch!
Alright, Gatorade.
Gatorade, check.
Nice, delicious
Look, we are
drink.
We're on our lunch.
We have
Daddy, look, 2 videos, check.
2 American sub sandwiches. One for me and one for her.
Can we just tell our names?
Banana. Sure, what's your
His
name?
name is James and my name is Hope.
My name is James, but for her it's Daddy.
Oh, it's been goofing off today,
Ooh,
Daddy.
look at that apple.
That's
That is a nice apple.
That's not my apple.
Okay. Alright.
I'm going to eat that sandwich fast.
Alright.
What's that for?
Learning a lot today? What have you learned about? Well, tell us. What have you learned about?
Bees make honey, and honey makes people feel better.
Yeah, it's kind of like a medicine, huh? And it tastes super good, huh?
Yeah. Everybody loves honey, right?
Everybody loves honey.
Even I do. Especially the honey that my dad makes.
Oh, I love you.
But you are not taking care of the bees.
I've learned a lot since I first started taking care of bees. I learned how a bee works. I learned that they communicate with each other. They have their own language. That they're super important for our environment. One of the biggest things that are killing bees is a little tiny mite that gets in the beehives. And the mite breeds or has 10 times more babies every single day than a queen does. So all those little babies, for every bee that's made, 10 mites are made, and they feed on the bees. So one of the biggest things for a beekeeper to do is to make sure his hive is protected from these mites, so that the hives are healthy and doing what they're supposed to do, pollinating all the crops and flowers and trees for us. So let's talk a little bit about the tools that a beekeeper uses. As you can see, I have on a white suit and a hood. This hood protects my face and my head from bees coming up and, you know, more irritation of flying around my face. I'm less concerned about stinging. Bees are actually pretty docile, and they usually don't sting unless they're really agitated. Besides the suit to protect my body from getting stung, I also wear leather gloves so I can reach into the beehive and pull out different frames of bees with honey or brood or larva. Beekeepers also use a tool called a beehive tool, and this tool we use to open up the bee boxes or move apart bee frames and pull out the frames and inspect the hives or pull out honey. Anyways, enough about the beekeeper's tools. Let's come over here and check out these bees. Alright, so here's a few of my beehives over here. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 beehives, 5, 6. Now the difference between these beehives these are full beehive boxes down here at the bottom. These bee boxes right here are nucleus bee boxes, and these are smaller bee boxes to grow a hive when it's first starting out. Anyways, let's take a peek inside of a beehive and see what it looks like inside of it. That's what it looks like inside of a beehive. And this is a pretty well established hive. There's probably about 75,000 bees in this hive. Because the queen can lay anywhere from 1,500 eggs every single day, or up to 1,000,000 eggs in her lifetime. Beehives can grow very quickly in the spring to the end of the summer. Some even reaching proportions of 150,000 bees. Part of the beekeeper's job is to maintain the hive and manage the growth of the hives so they don't swarm and fly off, and you want to be able to gather honey. So this is what it looks like inside of a beehive. They're just busy packing away pollen and honey. Alright, so what did you learn today about your daddy's bee business?
Queen bee lays eggs and they make nectar and honey.
Did you learn about the tools that a beekeeper uses?
Yeah.
What type of tools does a beekeeper use?
Like a bush to get bees off of them.
Okay. What about the suits?
It comes with a hat.
Does it? And it protects you so the bees can't get by your face?
Yeah, and it also has gloves.
Gloves?
Yeah.
Why do I wear the gloves?
To keep your hands safe and also to get the honey out of it so you can make it into a jar.
Put the honey in the jar? Okay. Seems like you learned a lot today. Hey, you want to go try some of the honey from the beehives?
Yeah.
Let's go do that. Let's go inside Grandma's kitchen here.
I got a bee sting for my first time.
Oh yeah? So I guess take it you're not allergic to bees then? Come on. Just walk to there. Alright, just wait right here. And I'm gonna get some of this nice honey out of the cabinet. Alright, there's some of that honey. You ready to take a little finger dip of it? Let me open it here for you. Alright. Alright.
It's good.